Hey loves, this is Bobby and I'm here with another video. And as it says on the tin, this is 5 books that I want to reread in the new year, as well as the series that go along with them. I loved all of these. These are all 5 stars, and now that I'm doing audiobooks, I really want to try some of these in a different media style and see how I like them as well as like that. And especially since I'm able to do audiobooks as of right now at work, hopefully I can still do them at work in the future, but I just feel like they'd be a great way to do that, and I get so much reading done right now. But I didn't get to reread any of these. Some of them I usually reread once a year. I didn't do them last year because with the whole starting booktube as well as the audiobooks and stuff, I was just kind of trying to get in so many different things that I felt like I was missing, or just I got introduced to so many new books through booktube and everything. So yes, so let's get started. The first one on here is probably my favorite book of all time. Yes, I said it. I said it. I said it. I love this book. I've read it about 5 or 6 times and I really want to do the audiobook for it. I've loved it every single time I've read it, obviously. I own multiple copies of this book, and that is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I absolutely adore this book. This is the first book where I remember finishing it, and immediately when I was done, I turned it over and started again because I just loved everything about it. Like, there's just something about this one. I think it's just all the mythology and everything. And then I absolutely love the character Shadow. We follow the story of a man named Shadow who's just been released from prison. He finds out that his wife is dead, and he ends up meeting this man, and he becomes kind of like his bodyguard companion, and he goes across the US and he starts meeting all these different gods. It is so well written. I love all the different gods and everything that we get. The mythology is amazing. There is just, I have no complaints about this book. Like I said, I've read it. This will probably be the 6th time I think I've read it when I do a reread. I really want to do the audiobook with this. I have not really done audiobooks when it comes to Neil Gaiman books yet. I've read most of them. The only one I did was the Sandman Audible like whole production that they did, and it was phenomenal. So I'm really curious how the audiobook is for this. But yeah, I usually try and reread it every year, and I just didn't do it last year, and I felt sad because I didn't do it. Well, not last year, this year. But yeah, so I need this in my life again. The next one is probably one of my favorite books from this year. When I first started booktube, I had just read it, and I talked about it in every single one of my first videos, like constantly. And I want to do a reread because it was phenomenal and I loved it and I want it back in my life again. And that is The Merciless Crow by Margaret Owen. This is one of the coolest kind of like magic systems and everything, but we follow the story of a girl who, in this world, the different magics are assigned to different birds. Crows are like the bottom of the tier for everything. There is also a plague that is going on in this world where once someone gets sick, it's not very long until they don't die. Basically, the crows are the only ones that are immune to this disease, and they have to go around and basically spread mercy, which is killing these people, because as soon as someone gets sick, this disease spreads very rapidly if anybody comes in any kind of contact with the person. And the crows are the ones that deal with it, but they are just seen, people think that they're the ones that are causing this, so that's how, because people have to pay them like to do this. Like, it's supposed to be, you know, they're doing a job, you're paying them. People don't like to, they feel like they're being exploited from it because of it. But I love this. We also have a prince in disguise, and I just love and the thing about this series, what I loved about it so much, is the fact that queerness is seen as normalized. It's never questioned. We do have one of the characters is queer. We also have a non-binary character that goes by they them pronouns, and it's never questioned, it's never brought up, it's just normalized, and it was amazing. And it's one of the first times I've really came across that in a book, and it just like blew me away. Like, wait, what? It's normalized? That makes me so happy. Also, the beginning scene, the crows do this thing called a money dance when people try and stiff them, basically. And that scene alone just drove it into me. Like, I loved it so much, and there's just so many things about this book I absolutely adored. I cannot wait to reread it. I don't know if I'm going to do it in January, but definitely like February, March, I want to reread this one because I love this. I loved the sequel, which is The Faithless Hawk, which was amazing as well. I need everything by Margaret Owen. Sadly, she's only got 2 books right now, but I very much look forward to absolutely everything she writes because I love it so much. The next one is one of my most read books. Like, this is my happy book. I have talked about it before on why it means so much to me, so I won't get into that, but it is just one of my absolute favorite books, and I want to do the audiobook for it. Like, I need to do the audiobook for it because I love it. And if you can't see me wave it around, that is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. I have read this book so many damn times. It makes me happy. It's just one of those books that puts me in a great mood. The whole book is just so sarcastic and hilarious, and I crack up every single time I read it. No matter how many times I read this book, I crack up listening to it. I really want to do the audiobook. I have no idea what to expect from it, but if I love it this much, I can see myself. The only thing about doing the audiobook at work is that I know I'm going to be standing there just like cracking up the entire time, and since no one can hear it because I have a headphone in, they're going to think I'm just losing my damn mind. But yes, I love this. Everyone has to know what Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is about. If you don't, a guy named Arthur, he becomes friends with a dude that turns out to be an alien. Didn't know that. And when the world's going to end, his friend hitchhikes them away off planet while it's destroyed, and craziness ensues. It is just so fun. I've actually never finished the series. I want to finish the series in the new year. Like, this is one of the series where I gotta finish. I want to. I think I've made it up to the 3rd book. I think I've read the first 3 books, and I just never read more of them, and I don't know why, because, well, I do know why, because every time I read another one, I just want to go back to this one because I love it so much. But yeah, so on to the 4th one. This is also one that I tend to reread once a year, and I didn't do it this year, and that makes me sad. But also, I'm not too sad about it because I want to do the entire series, and that is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I love this book. I've read it. This is another one where I've read like 5 or 6 times. I want to do a full reread of The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and finally get into The Silmarillion. I've never actually read that one. I want to do the audiobooks for these. These are ones I've read multiple times, so I'm fine with it. And I'm really curious about the audiobooks for them because they're just so fairy tale and magical and wonderful and just everything I love. But this makes me happy, and one of my main goals though for next year is to read as much of Tolkien's work as I can, because I haven't read that much of it. I own a lot of them, but I haven't read that many of them. And I really want to do The Lord of the Rings though again, because it's one of my favorite series, and I think I've only read the series like twice, and that's how that's happened. I don't know. But yes, audiobooks I really want to do for these, so I'm really curious about them. But you know what The Hobbit's about. I'm not getting into The Hobbit. Everybody knows what The Hobbit's about. If you don't know what The Hobbit's about, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say. So for the last one, has become my absolute favorite series probably. Like, I adored every single book. Every book in this series has been 5 stars. The next book and the last book comes out in the beginning, middle of January. I want to do a reread on these before I get into that last one, and everything about the series is just, for the longest time I couldn't actually pick a favorite book in the series, but I finally did. It's not this one. This is just the first book, and that is Every Heart's a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. When I first started BookTube, I heard about it, and it sounded really cool because we follow a story of, there are these kids that live in this kind of like boarding school type of house. And the only thing is, all of these kids are kids that have came back from these magical worlds, Narnia, Wonderland, places like that. They get somehow stuck back in our world, which is where they're from originally, but it's not their home. These other worlds are their home, and they're trying to find a way to get back. Some of them will eventually make their way back. Some of them, they're not sure if they will, and some of them are never going back. This has amazing representation, especially queer representation. I loved every single character. The books are amazing. I read all of them this year, and every single one of them, like I said, were 5 stars. I couldn't pick a favorite for the longest time, and it was the 4th book, which is In an Absent Dream. That was the one I was actually least excited to read about because these books don't go in a particular order. I personally do think they do, but some of them you can read out of order. In an Absent Dream is actually a prequel to this book because we get to know more about a character that we're introduced in here and we learn her story. We don't really get too much of her in here, like, you know, just the basis. So I wasn't really attached to her, so I was kind of like iffy about reading that one. That was like the one I wasn't super excited about, and halfway through it I was in love, and by the time it ended, because you know how that one ends because you know her ending from here. Like we know what's gonna happen to her, and I still wasn't prepared, and it broke my heart, but it was amazing, and it was my favorite. Like it took a while for me to pick a favorite in the series, but I love it. We've got, like I said, so much representation and everything, but it is just so beautifully written. I want to reread this entire series. This might be some of the first books that I reread in the new year because the last book comes out right at near the beginning of the year. So these are probably the first ones I'm going to do. They're all short stories. They're all, I believe, under 150 pages or just over 150 pages. I think all of them are under 200. So you fly through these, but I can't get enough, and I love them. Shauna Maguire, the series is just like my favorite ever now. Like I can't get enough of it. So that wraps up the 5 books plus series that I do want to reread and finally finish in the new year. So if you have read any of these, I would love to know your thoughts on them. Also, if you plan on rereading anything in the new year, I'd love to know. Or maybe you're not a rereader. I know there's a lot of people that don't like to reread books. I personally love rereading books. It's like watching, you know, a favorite movie again or listening to a favorite song again. For me, it clicks and it makes me happy because I know what's coming. But at the same time, I'm always expecting for emotions to be different because I have had books in the past that I've reread that they didn't click with me as much, and sometimes I'm very nervous about that happening with these because I love them so much. So there we go though. That's what's what. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the year as well as an amazing new year. Stay safe and happy reading. Bye!